Tonight, I send a car into orbit. C3 tech decks a car into a harvester. And L2 gets run over. Hello everybody! Hello and welcome. Now, with the return of the Illuminate to the galaxy, us, the valiant Helldivers, are now forced to fight against 3 terrible scourges to re-establish freedom and democracy across the Milky Way. And although we Helldivers are well equipped to deal with these threats, the Ministry of Defense has decided that what we already have isn't enough for freedom. Even with our numerous support weapons, airstrikes, and exosuits, they've managed to come up with a new toy for us to play with. When dispensing managed democracy across the galaxy, destroying the enemies who dare threaten Super Earth's liberty is of the utmost importance. But what is equally as important is pursuing freedom with haste. Otherwise, how are we Helldivers supposed to enjoy a peaceful cup of liberty if we're too busy shooting the enemy? And this is Super Earth's answer. It's called the Fast Recon Vehicle, and it will set you back about 25,000 requisition slips. But what you get in return is a beaut of a tool, one that far exceeds the sum of its parts. Because sure, it may only be a lightly armored recon vehicle, but packaged within this vehicle stands a vicious tiger ready to pounce at any moment. The FRV has a top speed of 100 kilometers an hour and does 0 to 100 in 15.4 seconds. Now, this may not sound too impressive. 100 kilometers an hour isn't exactly anything to write home about. But what you have to remember is that when on missions, even inside the colonies, your path will be disrupted by a number of obstacles, preventing you from even reaching the FRV's top speed most of the time. But that's what makes its acceleration so impressive, because yes, it may take over 15 seconds to reach its top speed, but the FRV will easily reach over 60 kilometers an hour in a third of that time. That's 0 to 60 in just 5.4 seconds. And all of this immense power comes from within here. And what we have here is a 6.9 litre supercharged V12, which produces an astonishing 420 brake horsepower. However, there is a small problem with this engine. And that problem is that I made everything up about it, because the Ministry of Defense never answered my emails. Apparently it's top secret information. Like, get a load of that! Come on. Still, could be worse. Oh, hold on a minute. So, what do we really know about the FRV? Well, it's rear-wheel drive. Couple that with its quick acceleration and its surprising lack of traction, and you get a vehicle that likes to slide around a lot. Now, this does make the FRV excellent for power sliding around corners. However, it also means that the FRV suffers greatly from oversteer. And what is oversteer? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's say you're driving down a road and you make a turn. Oversteer is what happens when the back of the vehicle swings out dramatically, sending you off the road where you crash into a building and die. Now, on most surfaces, the FRV's handling is perfectly alright. However, if you are driving on snow, sand, and especially ice, I would start praying. Fortunately, the FRV does have a way of tackling these rough conditions. You simply put it in first gear, which will reduce its speed in favor for more torque, making steep hills and slippery surfaces more bearable to drive on. You can also stick it in second gear for more general off-road adventures. It also limits speed for more torque, but not quite as drastically as first gear. Another quirk of the FRV is that it doesn't have a parking brake, so you do need to be careful where you leave your FRV, lest you wish your vehicle to undertake an unplanned journey down the side of a hill. But if we ignore these minor faults, the FRV has no faults. Yes, it might not have a windshield, or seatbelts, or any form of safety, but those are a key feature of the FRV. Because how do you expect Helldivers to use the FRV effectively if they're too busy buckling themselves into their own seats? Think about that, eh? The FRV is phenomenal and is an incredible vehicle to drive. It's a savage machine that is brutal to control, but when you put in the time, you are rewarded handsomely with a companion that gets you and your crew to where they need to be with plenty of time to drink some liberty. And we'll pick that up later on.
So did the Ministry of Defense really not reply back to your email?
Well, they did, but they didn't answer any of my questions. Like, I've got a copy of their response right here, and it says, Dear Hell so-called drivers, we regret to inform you that we cannot, at this moment in time, disclose any information pertaining to the Fast Recon Vehicle. We apologize for the inconvenience, Ministry of Defense.
Wow, they have no faith in us!
Like, seriously, who do they think we are, automaton spies? This is a high-quality video production.
Well, it's not like this is being made by a single bloke in his bedroom.
Exactly. Now, it is time to see how the FRV holds up in the hands of our tame racing driver. Some say he worked alongside John Helldiver to sabotage the Automaton Hulk factories, and that he's drunk tea with the legendary General Brash. But all we really know is that he's called the Sgid. And he's off. An excellent start, followed by a brilliant left-hander. He's very democratic, the Sgid isn't. Living up to the name, a right-hander and the... Oh, hold on, the video's going wrong. What the... And he's across the line! Now, I've got the lap time here. And the FRV completed a lap around our track. And I can't believe I'm saying this, in 14 seconds, dead on the mark. Which makes it the fastest lap time in our track's history. Now, before people complain, yes, we did use the streets of a colony for our testing track. But I want to make it absolutely plain here and now that no colonists nor colonies were harmed in the making of that film, for they had already been abducted and destroyed by the Illuminate.
So if you do have any complaints, you can shove it up the nearest Illuminate's ass.
And speaking of squids, that's a great segue into the news. Now, with the increased attacks from the Illuminate, many colonies and planets have been devastated by their hatred. And unfortunately, they could be coming to a place near you. For instance, take the beautiful colonies of Genesis Prime, which are being invaded, again, for like the 20th time.
So if you're tuning in from there, we'd suggest you bugger off.
Wait, I think my cousin and her family lives there.
Oh no! Anyways, moving on. Now it's time to put a star in our very democratic car. The guest I have tonight is a fan of having loads blown all over him and for having a fantastic beard. Put your hands together for Johan Piddlestead! How are you? Good, have a seat, have a seat. Well, since we're fresh off the Festival of Reckoning, how was that for you?
I like to kill aliens.
Of course you do, of course you do. Now, a bit of a more direct question, because I've always wondered, why do you like to have loads blown all over you? Like, I know everyone has their reasons, but wouldn't that, ruin the beard?
I really dig when enemies blow their load all over my ass.
You know what? I can get behind that. Now, who wants to see Johan's lap? Yeah. Alright then, let's play the tape. And he's off. Now, there is a meteorite storm going on at the moment, but that will not affect Johan because he's a beast. Look at that left-hander. My goodness me. Not sure why he's listening to that of all things, but you know, Johan's a bit weird and misses the light pole and makes the right hand. Excellent work. Maybe dodgy music choices, but he's good at driving so far. Can he keep it on the straight? He's got a left-hand turn. Can he miss the cars? And he does. Ooh, nearly overcooked it. Now he's got to get some speed. But hold on a minute. I think he's going a bit too fast here. It's going to be a nasty bump. Wait, what? Johan's dead? Then who are you? Oh, crikey! It's an automaton spy! Now, even though the Fast Recon Vehicle is superb to drive, it is inevitable that you're going to run into a bit of trouble. We're at war after all, so how does the FRV fare on the battlefield? Well, for those times you do find yourself in a bit of a tight spot, the FRV does come with a heavy machine gun mounted on the back. It's got 2 extra magazines, but apart from that, it's the exact same as the standard variant. Now, you are going to need a friend in order to operate it if you intend on driving the FRV. But you can always just park it up and use it as an emplacement of sorts. It's not terribly accurate, but you know, it works nonetheless. But if you are stripped of options and have no friends, you can always just use it as a battering ram. Power! For smaller enemies such as scavengers, troopers, and the voteless, the FRV's weight is more than enough to plow right through them with ease. However, trying to run over something bigger and you may run into some problems. Another point one must consider when bringing the FRV onto the battlefield is how durable it is. And though it may be surprisingly tough for a lightly armored recon vehicle, there are parts of the FRV you want to avoid losing. For instance, the tires. They are large and easy to destroy, and if you do happen to lose one, you're either going to lose much of your acceleration or almost all of your steering. However, you can still drive the FRV without its tires. It's not great, but it's doable. But that's not the only thing one should consider when bringing the FRV onto the battlefield, for there are a handful of nifty tricks that give the FRV more of an edge. Now, one usually can't drive and hold an item at the same time, that rule being included to promote teamwork. But as we all know, teamwork sucks. So in order to work around this rule, you simply just get into the passenger seat with the item and then just switch over to the driver's seat. Yes, it's really that simple. But all in all, the Fast Recon Vehicle is a fantastic addition to Super Earth's arsenal. It's got the speed, the maneuverability, and the firepower. It's got everything a Helldiver could need in a vehicle. So, with this now on our side, how could we possibly lose this war? Well, And on that 500 kilogram bombshell, it's time to end. Thank you so much for watching. Good night!